Use the mic. Oh, yep, I am on TV. Hi, everyone. Brian Smith. I'm the Director of State Accounts and Government Relations with GED Testing Service. I'm excited to be here to talk about just giving you all an update on how things are going GED testing-wise nationally, and our partnership with Aztec Software on some of these really important products to help students get through and pass the GED test. All right, so I just thought I'd give you, I wanted to set the stage for how many people we're testing each year. So you'll see in 2023, we had over 300,000 people who took the GED test. We had over 181,000 that completed all 4 parts, and then we had over 136,000 passers of the GED test. And the good news is you see in 2024, we went up even more. So you saw we had over 328,000 tests that were given, over 196 people who completed all 4 parts. And we had over 146,000 passers. That should be 2024 in 2024. So that's really exciting. We're moving in the right direction. You'll see we gave over 1 million individual tests and over almost 1.2 million GED readies in 2024. So we're glad to see that you all are using the GED Ready, and we're testing people, but we want those numbers to go up even more because we know we still have a lot of people who have started the process to earn a GED credential but haven't quite finished. I thought I would also give you all some context of how things are going for the different subjects. So you'll see here that our pass rates for the individual subjects. So you'll see maths at 79%, RLA at 86%, science is the highest at 90%, and then social studies at 87%. So you'll see those are the pass rates. It's probably not shocking to you all that math is still the hardest, followed by RLA. We do like to share that, science does have the highest pass rate. That's often a good place to start for students to get some confidence that help them pass the tests. And then we break down on who's scoring on the different high school equivalencies versus getting the college ready levels. So you'll see about anywhere from 6 to 11% on college ready, and then about 3 or 4% of our students are getting that college ready plus credit. But I show you this just to give you some context of what we're seeing a lot of times when people are struggling to finish up the GED test. A lot of times it might be with math, or maybe if they're not a native English speaker, maybe it's with RLA. And those are the subjects that usually sort of finish things up. But just wanted to give you a sense of the pass rates for the individual subjects. And I wanted to, because we're going to talk about some of the ways we can help students finish and earn that credential, especially those students who I know you all probably have students who have probably scored 142, right, or 143, and they just need that little help to get over the hump. And what we're seeing nationally, unfortunately, is that there are a lot of people in there. So we have over 170,000 individuals who have passed 3 or 4 tests. And you'll see 81% of those need math, 12% need RLA, and then less for social studies and science. But this is crazy, right? That many students who got so close and they just need the one test. And so I think some of the products we'll talk about today, especially GED Flash, they could really be the thing that puts students over the edge and get students out of that having passed 3 and be able to earn their credentials. So this to us is something we're always working on. We don't want to see this number high. We want to get everyone through. But the reality is there are a lot of people who got almost there, but not quite there. And we're going to talk about some products that we think will help push them over the edge and get them to finally being a GED credential earner. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Deanna.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Before we dive into some products, I want to talk a little bit. How many of y'all are familiar with Aztec? How many of you know how Aztec was founded or who founded us? Anybody? Because I think it's important. So 45 years ago, 2 female adult educators were in the basement of one of their houses. And I know some of y'all are too young for this. Do y'all remember those floppy disks we used to use? Remember those? Okay, I remember those. I was in undergrad school using those. But they were trying to figure out, how do we leverage this in adult ed classroom? How do we use technology and apply it to adult ed? And I think that's important for people to know about our history, because that's what we were founded on. And that's what we've spent the last 30 years working towards, right? Being cutting edge in technology, looking at andragogy and heutagogy and figuring out how to work with adult ed students best. And that's kind of what we've known for, right? But then over the last 10 years, we've added and increased that. And so today we're going to focus on some products that we want to make sure that you're aware of. And I don't know, too, I always want to put this slide up. How many people are familiar with Steck Vaughn books? Okay. So when Holton Mifflin Harcourt had an adult education department and they decided to close it down, they sold all those Steck Vaughn books to a company called Paxson Publishing. Does anybody remember Paxson Publishing? Okay, yeah. So I was with Paxson Publishing, and then Aztec bought Paxson about 5 years ago. So that's how we have all the books. And so people ask us sometimes about the different modalities that we have. So we're not just a digital software company anymore, although we put that foot forward because so many programs are using that now. But if you want to be hybrid, if you want to be high flex, we also have the Steck Vaughn GED books we're going to talk about. We also have eBooks that a lot of people don't realize that we have. We have it in English and Spanish. We're going to talk about that today too a little bit, because it's important to have a variety of modalities to work with your students, right? Sometimes they like to do stuff on their phone while they're sitting in line someplace, right? So we have to have that flexibility. So we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. And yes, I can't click because they've used all the ports up here and I'm a walker, so y'all forgive me. I want to ask you a question though. How many adults age 18 plus in the United States do not have a high school diploma nor a high school equivalency? And I gave you 4 choices. A is 4 million, B is 14 million, C is 40 million. Oh, and I was supposed to put 400 million on the last one, but I missed. Okay, so the bottom one's supposed to be 400. It's not a trick question, really, it's not. What do you think? You're right, it's 40 million. Have you ever shared that statistic with someone outside of adult education? Because it's very surprising. A lot of people in the world that we live on a daily basis, they don't have a clue that there are 40 million adults in the United States that do not have a high school diploma nor a high school equivalency, right? And to me, when I think about that number and I think about our economy and I think about our students who are trying to get sustainable wages for themselves and their families and their children, it's very important for us to understand that number, because to me, that drives what I do every single day, right? 40 million adults, let's try and help all of them get their GED. So what you have before you here is the digital academic continuum of learning. Today, we're actually going to focus on our GED products and talk about those in particular. But as you all well know, we have students that come in as low as non-reader. So we need to be able to serve our students from non-reader all the way through GED. We need to meet them wherever they're at and help them get to where they're going. So we have developed curriculum in print and digital that goes as low as non-reader and goes all the way through that curriculum up to GED. Are any of y'all teaching students that come from another country and are in the 6.0 to 8.9 level? Yeah. So one of the things we've learned over the years is we all learn things about social studies just from living in the United States. If you live here, you know every 4 years there's a presidential election because you see the debates on TV and you see the posters and you see all that, right? But if you come from another country, you don't necessarily know those things. So before we put our students in a GED Prep program, we need to make sure they have the pre-GED prerequisites that they need to have in place so they're successful in that program. Hey, honey. So we've got the whole continuum of learning from non-reader all the way through in English and in Spanish to help our students. Now, a minute ago, I was mentioning the Steck Vaughn books. You can see those up here. Here are our GED books here. And one of the things that we did in our second edition is y'all identified skills that are high impact indicators. And those high impact indicators are very successful for our students to be successful on the test. So what we did was we added additional lessons in all of our books for those high impact indicators. And we even note it at the top. So our students know, our teachers know, these are important skills for students to understand before they go forward, right? And then the other thing that we added was everybody was asking us for contextualized application. So contextualized questions. So at the end of each unit, we've added an at work section. That at work session lets them apply what they've just learned. They answer a question, but there's a section about healthcare. Questions for that. There are questions on transportation. There are questions on manufacturing. So we contextualize it along with the career clusters from DOL. Make sense? Because for our students sometimes, do you ever get asked, have you ever been asked, why am I learning about percentages? How am I going to use this in life, right? And you have to provide that real world contextualization. We do that a lot in the GED books anyway, but one of the things we found, if we can show them the relevance of that with a career path, then they really become more interested because it's much more relevant for them. So we've been really working on that the last few years and adding that in, and we added that into our GED books. We also created some pre and post tests that some of the teachers I work with actually use in the classroom to build confidence. So I've been in educational publishing for, it's either 38 or 39 years. The other's my wedding anniversary, and I get the two confused sometimes, but it's one of those. And one of the things I've learned is that sometimes in a classroom, you have to convince a student to take a GED test, especially in math, because they will argue with you. They will tell you they're not ready, right? And you have to convince them that they are. I think our students come to us with a lot of what I've called educational baggage. It's not just that they have missing skills, but it's that they have test anxiety. They sometimes have fear of education. They sometimes have this really deep-seated self-confidence thing because back when they were in first, second, third grade, they didn't get the gold stars or they didn't get the hundreds, and they thought internally something's wrong with me. And they would never say that to anyone. And sometimes they might try and blame it on teachers. That teacher didn't like me, right? So you've got all that wound up into your students when they come to you. That's that educational baggage. Well, our students lack self-confidence. So sometimes if you give them one of these tests in the classroom and say, just take this test, let's see how you do. And then they do really well, then that starts convincing them that maybe I do know this stuff. And that helps build confidence. And that building confidence is going to help them when it comes time to take the test. We have some other tools that really help build confidence we're going to talk about as well. This would be much better with a clicker. Okay, so our methodology, one of the things we do in our digital curriculum, I work for another company, they shall remain nameless, Paxson, and we had a math pretest that students took for the GED. So it covered all the objectives of the GED. It was 156 questions long. What do you think about that? We know our students. Do you think they all took it very seriously and worked hard at it through all 156 questions, especially math? Yes, no. So what we figured out was once they got to about question 50, 60, somewhere in there, usually they got frustrated, they got tired, they just didn't want to take it seriously, and they started Christmas treeing it. So we knew the last, like 2/3 of that test, the diagnostics weren't any good. And I kept saying to the academic team at that other company, we should make the test shorter, but they didn't listen. Well, when I came to Aztec, one of the things I loved about it is they break math up by units. They put similar skills in units and they give a pre-test for each unit. So let's just figure out what they know and don't know for this unit. Let's create an individualized educational plan for this unit. We will give you the lessons you need. And then when it's time for the next unit, we'll do another pre-test. Now, doesn't that make more sense? From a diagnostic perspective, it makes a lot of sense to me. Then we provide a lot of instruction. We have skills practice so we can make sure they have the chance to apply what they've just learned. And then at the end of a unit, let's give them a post-test. Why do we do that? Well, for a lot of our students, when they were in traditional K-12, they were over here and the teacher taught a skill to the class. And our students maybe didn't quite get it, but the class moved on. And our students still stuck back here trying to figure out that first sub-skill they taught, and the class keeps moving on and moving on. We can't let that happen again. So what we should do now is post-test that little unit, make sure they have all that in place first, and then move on to the next skill. It's not rocket science, right? But we just want to make sure they've got it this time because we don't want to do a repeat of what they've done in the past. How many of y'all learn stuff from videos? Do you do recipes? Watch a video to cook a recipe? Anybody learning how to knit or crochet or anything like that? Watching videos or crochet? Oh, I wanted you to say knitting. I want to learn how to knit, and I need to find a video to do that. The population below us, all those younger folks, they watch videos to learn stuff way more than we do, right? So I know y'all can't tell, but I'm from the South. And I was talking to my youngest son the other day, and he said he was going to change his brakes or something. And I don't really know a whole lot about changing brakes, except you got to bleed them or something. I don't know. So anyway, I was like, oh, let me give the phone to your daddy, and you can talk to him, and he can remind you what you need to do about bleeding the brakes or whatever. He's like, Mama, I will take my iPad out to the car. I will put a video on. I will follow the video, pausing it when I need to. I don't need daddy. And I was like, oh, okay, yes. And that just reinforced to me the younger generation, they use videos for everything. And our students really like to learn from videos. So we've embedded videos of Kaplan master teachers, a bunch of different master teachers teaching skills. So it's like having a teacher sitting right beside the student, walking them step by step by step through how to do something, right? And we have found that we get more student engagement, we get more student participation by doing that. Then we have drills and practice so they can actually apply what they've learned. And then that post-test that we talked about that not only makes sure they have everything in place before they go to the next unit, but also lets us know if there's anything that they're missing so we can go back in and teach that again as we need to. So we have assessments and student reports. We're timing everything. We're watching everything. We have all kinds of data so that you know if a student actually took the test the full length of time and read every question, because I have seen reports where a student made a 10% and then we looked at the time data and found out they were in it for 10 seconds. So there wasn't even enough time to read all the questions. So you get all that kind of information available. So it's a very robust platform, tracks lots of information. We provide pre-test lessons, application skills, post-test, all of that. And for the last 35 years, we've had that available in English. And about 4 years ago, I think it was 4 years, Jane, we had been getting requests for products in Spanish for a while. And about 4 years ago, we partnered with the GED testing service to create a GED in Spanish preparation materials. We've created them in print, we created them in software, we created them in EPUBs. That was so popular because one of the things that we did was we hired a team. We put together a team of Spanish-speaking subject matter experts from folks who help students prepare to take the GED in Spanish on a daily basis, and they helped create our software. It has audio built in, male voices, female voices, all in Spanish, so it provides audio support. And it was met with resounding success. People absolutely loved it. And therefore, then they asked us to create pre-GED in Spanish and ABE in Espanol, which we did. And we even added a locator test. So if your student walks in the door and they speak only Spanish, you can give them the locator test in Spanish, and that will help you place them in the right program to get them ready to move towards their GED in Spanish. So ABE in Espanol goes from 0.0 to 5.9. And then pre-GED goes from 6.0 to 8.9. And then our GED in Spanish goes from 9.0 to 12.9. We have our GED Spanish books available in print. We have them in eBooks, and then we have the digital GED Spanish software. We're very excited about that. We're the only preferred partner for the Spanish GED test, and we're very proud of that. Now I want to talk about some GED supporting products, and I'm going to let Brian take over for a minute.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the products that I know I hear from you all when I'm traveling around and going to conferences. A lot of you have used Flash. Can I see a show of hands? How many of you have used Flash, GED Flash? Okay, a bunch of you, yeah. And my guess is most of you, your students really like it, right? And that's a really popular thing because they get that instant feedback. I see head shaking. So I just want to talk a little bit about how we got here with GED Flash. So when we were doing research, we know that our students were looking for more opportunities to practice. And they wanted not only opportunities to practice, but they wanted that feedback right away, right? Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? And so we want to make sure that we know our students are traveling and that they're on their phones. Most of our students are logging into their GED.com accounts from their phones or a tablet or a computer. And so we partnered with Aztec to create GED Flash for organizations. This is an opportunity for you as an organization to purchase GED Flash for your students and it's based on a monthly fee. So GED Flash for Students is an interactive tool that helps students pass. Think of it as flashcards. So the students are getting access to thousands of practice questions that provide them the answer right after they take the test. So we know a lot of our students really love the GED Ready, right? Because it's a great way to find out if you're ready to pass the GED test. But in order for that test to be predictive, we can't give out the answers and everything. So this is why GED Flash has been really popular, because we give them that instant feedback. We tell them if it's right or wrong, and if they got it wrong, we show them how they solved that problem. So what's great about it, as I mentioned, over thousands of questions in all 4 subjects. These questions are fully aligned with the GED test. So we work closely with Aztec to make sure that they're covering the materials and the skills that we have on the GED test. And as you can see in this example, a student that takes a question and immediately shows them the right answer and how you solve that question. So when we were looking at this, if you know anything about GED testing service, we are a very data-driven company. We are always looking at our data. We are always looking to find what our data is telling us. And so when we were looking at GED Flash and how it was performing, we were starting to see that students who used it a lot, we put them in the low users. You'll see they were getting a mean score on the math test. And I know this has been really popular on the math test. You'll see the mean score was around 144. And then we looked at those high users, the students who were really using it. And you'll see that their mean score was a 148. And you see they're going from not passing to passing. And it's that old adage, practice makes perfect. The more you do it, the more comfortable you are, the more skills you learn, and you're likely to get over the hump. And that's what I was talking about before when I was mentioning all of the students who just need math, right, to pass, that this is the great opportunity for them because it gives them that instant feedback and helps them get over the hump if they use GED Flash to be able to pass the math test. We also looked at our students who were super users, who were really using it. So you'll see students who had just taken 99 plus questions were getting around 51%, right? And then those super users who were really using this were starting to get almost 90% correct on when they're taking these math questions. So again, it comes back to that. The more you use it, the more engaged you are, the better you're going to do. And I think one of the other things that we were really excited about was that when we talked with our students, they told us they had more confidence, right? This seems pretty obvious, but I can't stress this enough, especially with our students. So much of what they're dealing with is the confidence, right? To either go take the test and be comfortable when they're taking the test. And you'll see about 80% of our Flash users say it makes them more confident. And that makes sense, right? If you take lots of questions that are similar to the types of questions you're going to get when you take the GED test, you're going to be much more comfortable when you go and sit down for test day, and you're not going to get flustered if you get a question that maybe you're not familiar with, right? You're going to move on to the next one and be comfortable answering all types of math questions. So this was something that's really important. Anything we can do for our students to help build confidence really helps them. And then, of course, Aztec has their reporting system available for teachers. So if you purchase this, you can track how your students are doing, which is key, right? So as they said, as Deanna was mentioning, if someone says, oh yeah, I did 30 minutes of GED Flash. You can check them and see, actually, I see you only did 10 minutes, and monitor and see their seat time and see how many questions they're taking and see which questions they're getting right and wrong. And so this is, of course, key for you all to make sure you're tracking how your students are doing. So it does come with all of the Aztec reporting features and tracking how they're doing. So I think that's right. That's it. So I'll just end with saying that, especially if you have those students who are close but just can't get over 140, and they know they just need to get a few more questions, GED Flash is a great tool for them. We've seen it. I talk with programs all around who are using it. It seems to be one of the most popular tools out there, and it really does help those students who are close get over the hump, earn that credential, because as I mentioned before, we don't want to see that 179,000 people with 3 out of 4 tests continue to grow. We want to cut into that and be able to get people credentialed and on with to a job or a college or something else. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to.
Thank you. So one of the cool things about GED Flash, just so you know, is I've had students tell me about how they use it, right? Because it's thousands of questions split up by subject area, but we give students just 10 questions at a time. So if they have a short amount of time, 10, 15, 20 minutes, they can do it, right? So I've had people tell me, well, I do it on my break from work. I do it on the bus ride home. One of the funniest ones I had, do y'all watch Marvel movies? I don't know much about those, but apparently there was one that came out fairly recently, and he was telling me that he was in line, and apparently it was a long line. He said, I sat there and did Flash while I was waiting to get into the movie theater. And I was like, oh, that's great, right? And this is what I was talking about earlier too, about building that confidence level. Brian mentioned that, by doing those questions, they get familiar. One of the reasons why I think our students have a lot of test anxiety is because of the unknown of that high stakes test. This lets them see the kinds of questions they're going to be asked. It lets them see how they're going to be asked to respond. And they're sitting there doing it, and then they get the feeling and the comfort, and it helps build that confidence level. Our students, and I believe y'all did 2 efficacy studies on this in math, and that if our students do at least 100 questions, they can increase their score by 4 points. Well, if the national non-pass rate is 141 and you need to get them to 145, then Flash may help you do that. And in my head, as a former teacher, my first thought was, well, if we can do that in math, we can do even more in science and social studies and RLA, right? So I can't tell you the number of teachers and administrators who've come and told me particular stories about particular students who've struggled for the last 2 or 3 years in math. And then they used Flash, and Flash seemed like it really worked for their students. That's partly because it's short spurts. They can do it when they want to, and it builds confidence. So I would say it's our most popular product by far. And we have lots of others that people love, but Flash is one of those that you just continue to hear stories about. Conference to conference we go to. I had someone run up to me the other day at a conference because they were so excited. And they were like, we put a student in math Flash because they only needed math, and they took it again and they'd failed it 3 times, and they took it this time and they passed. And they were so excited. Like, you just don't know what we've been through with this student, right? And every time I hear those stories, it makes me think, oh, we need to start capturing these and putting them on something, because it is exciting for us to hear. But I'm just so excited for that student, right? The frustration level after 3 years of trying and then to finally get it. So Flash is not only one of our most popular products, but I don't know, it's like the happiest product. I know, Greg, you're laughing at me now, but it's something about it that our students love, and it just seems to work for them, and everybody has positive results, and you can get all the data you want on the back end. So I love that one. Now let's go back and talk about GED Play. This is another product we developed with the GED testing service. Remember when we were talking about videos a minute ago and how our students really like to learn from videos? And I said that we have some embedded videos in our lessons from Kaplan Master Teachers. Well, GED Play is just a video library. It's on-demand videos that students can watch, longer than the ones in our GED program. Those are like less than 4 minutes. These are between 8, 10 minutes, like that. And they walk a student through, just like a teacher would sitting beside them, a skill, right? And we have GED Play and GED Flash set up so that if a student goes through a video, then they can go do Flash to make sure they've got it. Or say a student's doing Flash and you identify some skills that they need, they can go to Play, watch those videos on those skills, and then take some more Flash questions to make sure they've got it. So there's an interconnectivity between those two. And for some of our higher level students, especially that might be missing just a few skills here and there, just doing that Flash and Play thing, it feels more, I don't know, it feels less instructional and more, I don't know what the word is, Greg, help me. It's engaging. It's like it's just more fun, right? So it makes it where they really want to continue learning, and we're playing into, what they like. I believe y'all did a survey and asked students what, how they wanted to prep for the test. And the one overwhelming piece you first got was they wanted a practice tool, which that's what led to GED Flash. But the second piece you got was they wanted more video instruction, which is what led to Play, right? So we're trying to give them the types of modality that they seem to engage in the most. Are y'all using a bunch of videos now? Yes? Yes, you find that students like it? Yes? No? Yes? Okay, y'all are quiet. You need more caffeine. So I did want to mention for Play that we talked about the videos with the Kaplan instructors. It's hours of video instruction. The concepts are directly aligned with the skills on the GED test as well as with Flash. They're short, bite-sized lessons, and students do not feel overwhelmed. I'm going to stop a minute and back up, because I meant to do this before I started talking about Play. How many of y'all were saying earlier that you use GED Flash? Anybody in here teach GED Spanish? No GED Spanish programs? Okay, well, here's my exciting new product announcement. We've been asked for years now to develop Flash in Spanish, and it's coming out in third quarter of this year. So we're very excited about that. The programs that have been using our GED Spanish program have been asking for it ever since GED Spanish came out 4 years ago. And I did a session yesterday morning just on Spanish resources, and there were 30 people in there. And when I made that announcement, they clapped, they cheered, people stood up, they were very excited. So just know that's coming out later this year, along with 7 other new products we've got coming out. We're really excited about Flash in Spanish. GED Play, you've got some of a sample there that you can see. I'm going to give this back to Brian.
And I'll just say with as Deanna mentioned, with GED Play and Flash, you can see how they work complementary. So we have a lot of people who will purchase both, and they both can be delivered offline too. If you're in a corrections program, I know that's important, especially for GED Play. Sometimes there's not enough teachers in the correctional environment, and so that's a great way to supplement to make sure that students are learning the skills, practicing the skills, and then passing the GED tests. So if you want to learn more about all things GED related, I just want to make sure you are aware we have a GED conference this year. It is going to be August 4th through 6th in Chicago, Illinois, right in downtown Chicago. It's at the Chicago Hilton. You can now register for the conference. Have any of you been to the GED conference before? Some of you. It's fun, right? It's really good. It's not as long as COAB. I think we have it as about 2 days, over 3 days. I think we start in the afternoon and end in the morning and the last day. But it's a great opportunity to hear about professional development, to hear about the latest things that we're working on at GED Testing Service, to network with other educators who are in other states who are, have ideas on how to help students get through. We've got a corrections track. We've got a workforce track. We've got lots of different sessions. I think this year we're going to have over 70, 80 sessions or something. It's going to be incredible. So, and of course, it'll be in Chicago in the summer, so it'll be really fun. So, last year, I think we had over 600 people in Long Beach, California. So, we hope to see many of you there. If you're looking for more professional development opportunities, please consider the GED conference in downtown Chicago. Thank you. I think, do I have another one? Oh, I do. Yes. And I just want one other thing while we're talking about things coming up, because this is coming to graduation season. I know many of you will have GED graduates. We pick a day and we do, this year it's going to be May 16th, where we make sure we celebrate all of our GED grads. And we do an online ceremony and we have speakers and we really amplify and make sure we bring home the message about our GED graduates who have graduated that year. And so GED Grad Day is May 16th. If you go to that link, you'll get all the resources that you need to help celebrate the GED grads in your program. We will be doing lots of things on social media. Again, we will have a virtual graduation. I believe it's on Facebook. I believe, yes, Facebook Live. And so you'll be able to see a speaker, and we'll really make sure we celebrate our GED grads. So I hope all of you can participate and really celebrate your students. I know a lot of you will have your own graduations that you'll have where people will be there in person. But since we're working with students all over the country, we wanted to have a virtual day where we can really celebrate the hard work that students have put in. So that's coming up very shortly. In just a month, May 16th, GED Grad Day. Yes, I will. Thanks. Great point. Yeah, so another thing that we do at the GED conference is we give out GED student awards. And so we give up scholarships to, I think we're doing it to 6 GED graduates. We usually do it from the states that we're in. So if you are in Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana or Missouri, your student, if you have a GED grad who you want to nominate, you can. And we give a scholarship and they come and they share their story. And we all cry because they're very emotional and we're all emotional. And it's probably the best part of the GED conference. They get a scholarship to go on for higher education and they usually get some other gifts from us. But they get to share their story and they usually get to share that story with their educator who nominated them. And it's just a great time. So if you are in one of those states, please consider nominating one of your students. But if not, it is another reason to come to the GED conference because it is a great emotional time. And it's a time for us to really celebrate our GED grads.
Thank you. I asked you to talk about that because last year, the students, the day before the luncheon, they went in and they practiced, with the microphone and giving their story. And our booth was right by one of the doors and it was during a session. So there weren't a lot of people. So we had all gravitated towards the door and we were listening. And I looked around, there were like 5 of us from Aztec. Several of them were men, but we were all sitting there with just tears streaming down our face as we're listening to them. And a couple of them gave a shout out to Aztec, which was really lovely. One of them in particular had several sentences about Flash and about how much Flash had helped her get to where she was going. And we're like, yes. So anyway, it is very emotional and it's very lovely. And if you get to go, and it's really great because you get to network with other folks and talk specifically about issues surrounding the test and people share. So a lot of networking, a lot of sharing. So it's a great time. Before we do anything else, does anyone have any questions for Brian or for myself? Okay. Yeah, of course. The reason we've developed half the products that we have at Aztec is because people have told us they need those things. So we love feedback. We love suggestions. We take those back to our academic team and say, hey, we were asked for this. And they start looking at it, how to make it possible.
It's one of the greatest tools to prepare students, help them, with passing this test. I'm one of the instructors and I use the Aztec Flash cards a lot. I use the screen and, we review these questions together and it kind of generates, the loopholes where we have to help the student a little bit more. So again, the see, like everything else, right? I'm gonna give you the good news first, and then I'll give you the bad news. Hopefully, this is not really bad news, but what we have experienced is throughout these years is that we spend a lot of time helping students navigate the interface, the page of Aztec. It's a lot. There's too much, and it's hard for students to find the material, the content. And it's like, oh, only if Aztec will make it easy for us, and because we teachers spend a lot of time helping students navigate to get to their lessons or to Flash, you see? And so I wish, Aztec would do something about it. Okay, okay.
And that man right there, Greg, is the one who can help with the shortcut. So one of the things you can do is make sure and talk to him too, and put a note down. That's what you're interested in. And did you want to say something, Greg?
Yeah, excellent point. That up. So reach out to us. Everybody on our field service rep team knows how to create the experience for every program designed to be the way you want it to be. There's a whole bunch of customization that can be done in the ALS, whether you want, your classes broken out by individual levels, you want the student to land on a certain spot when they log in, which would address your question directly. There's a whole bunch of things that we can do to tailor it to your needs. All we need to do is make sure we have that conversation, understand what your goals are so we can get it there. Also, the feedback that we get from our clients is how we keep evolving. Let's see, 2 years ago, we did an update on the student view of the Aztec platform. And then last year, we did that update for admins and teachers. That was all to prepare us for what can come in the future evolution of the Aztec platform. So as we go into the next phases of things, we're going to be bringing in more of those conversations that come from all of you as users with your experiences to tell us, what do you want it to look like in the future? So reach out to us, stop by the booth, hunt me down, look for me, write things on your card that you want specific information or training or needs about tailoring it to your program or teacher trainings, anything like that, and we'll be in contact with you about that. And and to that, that's a good, excellent point. Excellent. To that point, though, not everybody wants the same outcome, so we can help you design it in the way that you want your students to see it, just for your program. That way, some other program who might want to see it in a different way or land on a different spot, they could still have it that way. So we can help you tailor it for that need. Yes, that's what we're here for. We're here to support that. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Will you take up the cards from everyone, and we can continue to answer any additional questions while he gathers the cards, and then we're going to raffle off some of these books that we brought for GED. Any other questions? Yes.
I've noticed that Aztec is much harder than the GED, than the actual test. So I actually had a teacher said that they tested in the RLA and he got 70%, and it said that they were not ready yet. And I feel that Aztec is a lot harder, and it says you're not ready when they go into the GED ready. They get, you're ready for the test. And so it's like, it's just keeping the students working on Aztec and not giving them the courage or the, to go to actually test.
So Greg, I'm gonna let you respond to that.
Unfortunately, I
Oh, you
missed
weren't
part of that
listening.
because I was talking. Yes. So here's a secret. Shh, don't tell. But it is designed to be slightly harder than the actual GED testing because it prepares the student. If they can score well on the Aztec platform, if they can get to that passing grade, they're going to be just fine with a lot of confidence going into the GED testing. Now, the questions are not identical because GED Testing Services puts out their own questions. Aztec creates our questions according to the knowledge codes, but we're testing in the same areas, but they can't expect that, well, I had this question in Aztec, so I should have the same question at the GED testing time. So it won't be an identical question, but they are designed to be slightly more difficult, not a lot, but that way it builds the confidence for the student. Our scoring is not also the same as what you see with GED testing. You're not going to see a score in Aztec that says student got a 154. Our practice tests are designed to show what is the student's percent readiness to take a GED operational test. So their scoring falls into 3 different bands. The lowest band would be not ready. The middle band is partially ready. And the top band is ready, which would be anything a 60 and greater. But it's not really the practice test is designed again to test the student's percent or to show the student's percent readiness to take a GED test. So it's not that they got a 49%, it's that 49 puts them in the partially ready band. So they have, or not ready, which it also then shows the suggested learning. They can see exactly what lessons they need to focus on for remediation. So don't get tied into the number. The number just simply helps put them into one of those 3 categories. The student's aim is going to get into that ready band.
I can't speak to Aztecs. There's a range of skills. You have to figure out. Some people just 5 to 12 their life. Others
Good point.
How to make sure they learn skills so they. It depends on where they're going for.
Well, Good. It's individualization. Not every learner is prepared for tests the same as somebody else sitting next to them. That's why I love the suggested learnings after the student has taken the practice test, because they can refer back to that and see exactly, okay, I wasn't ready. I got a 49. So I fall in that partially ready category. Where do I go for additional remediation? The suggested learning tab in the practice test will show exactly what lessons they should focus on. That's also a great time to employ the use of both Flash and GED Play products. Yes, I think I got them all. Yep. All right, here we go. Hands free here.
Yes.
I'll shuffle around.
Are they?
Yesterday, I had them bagged up separately, but I have these on. Here is math, science, social studies, instructors edition, so just not on analyze.
Look, let's see, we have a winner. Okay, I give up. I'm going to go with the first name here, Gail. How do you pronounce your last name? I'll take your word for it. Congratulations, you're the first winner. So let that be a lesson to everybody. You have to be able to pronounce your last name as I draw these.
We also have catalogs up here on the front table.
Okay, winner number 2, hopefully an easier name. Armida Oras. Oh. Oh, there you are. You're hiding back there. Congratulations.
If you'd like a presentation of our software, whatever, you can just come by the booth and talk to us and we can get you set up. Are there any other questions? Thank you for spending time with us, and we hope you have a great rest of the conference.